we're going to talk about how to support a grieving partner. Okay. So we're going to go a little heavy, a little deep. We ready for it? We're going to come back up. I promise you, I promise you. But here we go. Here's the question. Silver saying, my master and I were inseparable from the first moment we laid eyes on one another, but neither of us was looking for a committed relationship when we met. His wife passed away only 9 months earlier. She died in his arms as her heart failed. Oh my goodness gracious. But when they met, they both just clicked. 3 months later, they were collared. I know. Oof. 3 months later, they were collared. He is a trained master in BDSM, trained for 3 years, in the lifestyle for 20 plus years. I was basically brand new, only 16 months into BDSM. When we got collared in a master-slave dynamic, we both had certain expectations we had agreed on. Because of his loss, we were not able to engage in playtime, like impact or otherwise, because of his anger. He knew he couldn't risk harming me. He also couldn't engage sexually. Totally understandable. It has taken a year to get past the pain he went through and taken BDSM out completely. You know what? That is so wise. Can we give it up for this couple, like wanting to lay a badass DS foundation and was aware enough of where they were at to go, hey, we're going to build this in the right way. We're going to build, oh my goodness, applaud you both. So good, so good. So we grieved for a year, took BDSM out completely. But he was training me in the background without my knowing, things like patience and focus, etc. Absolutely. We have been down a very difficult road, but it built a solid foundation. I was very confused on how to combine our vanilla world and learn to be a slave. We have finally gotten to a very solid place. Excellent. But grief affected us in so many ways. I feel like it's not even addressed. Everyone's grief is so different. I would love encouraging words or methods to help rebuild and support my master's confidence. We love each other more than I can tell you. We are solid as a couple and beginning to have more of a dynamic as master and slave. So, how to support a grieving dominant or a grieving submissive here. Number one, understand the phases of grief and identify to the best of your ability what phase your partner is in, your dominant or submissive is in. Okay. And so the phases of grief, if you're unfamiliar: shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance and hope, and then processing. All right. Again, shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance and hope, and processing. That is really, that's the flow of grief, the phases of grief. Okay. So the first thing, if you are a partner in a DS dynamic, dom or sub, your partner is grieving, your partner just had a big loss. First step is how to support them, understand the phases of grief, and identify what phase he's in, or what phase your dominant is in or submissive is in. So for instance, Silver here said, because of his loss, we were not able to engage in playtime, like impact or otherwise, because of his anger. He knew he couldn't risk harming me. So right off the bat, we are identifying a phase of grief here. So it seems like he already went through the shock, went through the denial, and now we're in anger. Okay, about a year ago, he was in anger. Okay. He also couldn't engage sexually, and it took him about a year to get past the pain he was in. So pain he was in, no sex drive, that sounds like depression to me. So then we went from anger, bargaining, depression. So again, depression was about a year ago. So now it seems like we're in the acceptance and hope and processing phase, which really reinforces what Silver says in her question. We've finally gotten to a very solid place. We're finally engaging as master and slave. We're finally in a really solid place. And so it sounds to me like she was able to identify some key elements of the grief process and see, okay, yeah, he has moved past the anger. He has moved past the depression. Now we're in this acceptance and hope and even processing phase. And that's why things are picking back up in our dynamic. So that's the first thing. It sounds like Silver did that really, really well, understanding the phases of grief and identifying what phase her dominant was in. The second one, whether you're dominant or submissive with a grieving partner, is to remove any perceived pressure to lead, to dominate, to serve, etc., especially top or bottom to top. Remove any perceived pressure to lead, dominate, top, etc. He might be feeling raw and vulnerable and need gentleness, patience, and support. He lost his wife. You're probably feeling raw. You're probably not feeling like you want to wield a whip right now. And that's totally, totally normal. Totally normal. So remove any perceived pressure. And it absolutely sounds like Silver did just that. Again, Silver, way to go. It sounds like Silver removed the pressure and was like, you know what? You know what? Go ahead and take your time. I'm here to support you. I'm not pushing for training. I'm not pushing for scenes. I'm not pushing for play. Silver took the pressure off, and I love that. Again, well done, Silver. Hey, She Bakes a Lot. Welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. So we're just talking about how to support a partner in, when they're grieving, if they just went through a big loss, spouse, child, parent, family member, friend, whatever, how to support them. First one is understand the phases of grief and identify what phase your partner is in. 2, removed any perceived pressure to play, to lead, to dominate, to be creative in a kinky mindset, really, because we might have other higher priorities mentally and emotionally in this season. Number 3, we're going to create a safe space and encourage the dominant or submissive to talk about their feelings and even share memories. Okay, now you got to be really, really secure as a submissive if you're going to do this, even as a dominant. But it's super special for you as the partner, whether you're dominant or submissive, to be secure enough in who you are, what you bring to the table, your current relationship, to go, hey, sir, master, I know you just lost your wife. Would you like to share any memories about her? Would you like to talk about her? Do you need to talk about her? Versus being so insecure about the fondness of his memories or the grief, the depth of the grief that they may be going through, that you put up this wall where you're like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it, as a means of self-protection from your own insecurity. So I don't see Silver doing that either. By just the merit of the fact that he was able to go through the grief process so thoroughly in this time frame really shows me that Silver was able to do that. Silver created a safe space emotionally and encouraged emotional release, communication. Hey, do you need to talk, cry, vent, process? What do you need from me? I'm here for you. So create a safe space and encourage them to talk about their feelings or share memories of this person if they need to. Okay, that's going to really bond them to you as well, for sure. And then number 4 here, how to practically support, is show up in the way that your partner needs without expectation. Okay, again, this is the season to pour out rather than to demand and expect. And so if you're dominant, your submissive is just so broken, they're just practically catatonic. They can't do their rituals and protocols anymore. That's not the time to shame them, condemn them, be heavier handed with them. That's the time to, okay, we're going to back off because you have higher priorities going on mentally and emotionally and even in your body that really need to be fostered and addressed here. All right, so we're going to take the pressure off. And I, as the submissive, I, as the dominant, I want to show up for you however you need without expecting anything from you in return, without expecting play, performance from you in return. All right, so those are our 4 points. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls?